Cool fall-like air has swept across a good chunk of the country behind a cold front, but what if I told you that this air mass could last for much longer than 2 to 3 days? I'm already watching a chance for another shot of cool air to spill down into the lower 48, something that we call cross-polar flow could set up as we get into September. So we're going to get very detailed on that, explain the pattern, how cool could it potentially get. After that, we'll give you an update on a low pressure that could get going off the coast of the Northeast. Then we'll give you an update on the tropics, and then we'll talk about today's weather. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This was issued yesterday, and it's wild. We continue to push this further out in time below average temperature chances, and this is running from the 1st through the 5th of September, the first 5 days of September now. So if you live in these blue areas, this is where we have a percent chance of below average temperatures. The bluer it is, the higher that percent chance. So if you live in a county that's covered in blue, you got a better than not chance of below average temperatures. So one thing I'm noticing that's different on this map compared to maybe the last few I've showed you is confidence is increasing in this time frame for below average temperatures now for the middle of the country. Still hanging on to below average temperature chances across the eastern U.S. too in this time frame. Now let's look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. Okay, it looks a little bit different, getting back to more so like near normal, around average temperatures across the eastern seaboard, but the confidence is increasing for below average temperatures now across kind of the heart of the country, the central areas of the lower 48. And I'm going to explain why confidence is increasing in this area here in a second, but this is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook running from the 3rd to the 9th of September, so almost the first 1/3 of September now. So what's driving this? And this is the part of the video that might confuse you guys as the audience, but I'm going to try to explain it the best way I can. The blue you see on your map, don't immediately think that's frigid temperatures, and don't immediately think that, you know, the warmer colors you see on your screen like this right here, the yellows, the orange, the reds, is just scalding hot temperatures. That's not what it means. It can mean that, but this is the pattern at 500 millibars, way up in the air, 18,000 feet. So this is for tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, and we have a trough, which makes sense, over the eastern U.S., and this is spilling a lot of cool air down from Canada. So the flow basically is like this, you know, spiking ridge up into Canada, flow's kind of dropping down into here. Cool dry air is always going to come on the kind of the backside of this trough, and this is what's spilling these below average temperatures into the eastern half of the country, into portions of the central U.S. also. Okay, and normally, really any time of the year, these troughs will dig down, dip in the jet, and then sweep on out, and we're done with it. It lasts maybe 1 to as much as 4 days. I mean, it doesn't last very long at all. So what you'll notice is as we start to get into Labor Day weekend, you know, we get into Saturday, this trough is still hanging around. So this is still pumping some cool, dry air, you know, down into the lower 48. We also have some unsettled weather. Keep in mind that the blue area, that is lower pressure too. So that means we could have some unsettled weather also, and just sort of what we call, you know, areas of energy dropping down maybe into here, or, you know, we could have an active southern jet, and we could have energy just kind of riding down here as the jet, the kind of main flow in the atmosphere, is positioned further south, because this kind of trough is making the jet kind of dive down, so all the energy is kind of cruising down here. So I think we're going to start to get some unsettled weather across the southeastern U.S. probably into this weekend. And I'm not talking about a washout for your Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Not necessarily, but I do think this is a pattern that screams low pressure developing off the eastern seaboard, and I'll explain that a little bit deeper into the video. Let's stick to the cooler temperatures for now. So, you know, we still have a signal for lower pressure. I think we're just going to have some unsettled weather. So lower pressure, unsettled weather, shower and storm activity. And I think we're just going to have that unsettled weather across areas of the southern states down here. This is getting into Labor Day evening. One thing you'll notice is you still got a ridge pumping up into Alaska and across, you know, the western U.S. We call this a negative EPO, a positive PNA. It's a pattern you like to see when you get into winter if you're a winter weather fan. But I want you to watch how this area right here opens up as we move into the first several days of September. You see how there's a blue to blue connection here? This is what we call a cross-polar flow. We got a spiking ridge up here. This dislodges cool air down to this dip in the jet stream. And this allows for just more cool air to spill down from basically the Arctic, the polar region. And it's wild. You can see this, I mean, really, I guess any time of the year, but you don't really see it this time of the year because the jet normally doesn't dip this far south this time of the year for this long, especially. This is a pattern that would scream almost an Arctic outbreak in, say, the winter months or late fall or maybe early spring. But of course, we're in late August, early September, a little bit different. The air is definitely modified. But this is going to allow for some cool air, cold air, I think, to spill down into the central U.S. And I think the way that this trough is oriented, I think we're going to have more cool air in the central U.S. rather than the eastern U.S. And I know you guys, the audience, are probably looking at this. Well, we should get plenty of cold air because of this big blue blob over the southeast too. That's not necessarily what it means. Remember, the cool air kind of spills down on this side right here, and this trough really has to dig south. And this is, it's, for me as the weather YouTuber, if you will, I got to always find that happy medium of not getting too far deep into this and keeping it in an area where you guys can understand. Because even as the person to explain it, the teacher, if you will, it can be difficult to explain. But just think of this as just a connection right here from the polar region. And I mean, we're just getting a tall spiking ridge. This spiking ridge dislodges cold air down into this dip in the jet, and we just get cooler than average temperatures, downright cold temperatures for some areas, that spills down into the lower 48. It's a pattern that keeps showing up, and as it keeps showing up, it's getting closer to us, so it looks like that it's legit. And this hangs with us the first several days of September. And at the very end of the run, it does look like we finally shaped the trough, and it could begin to warm back up. So that's the pattern. Right now, we got the trough in place, but the pattern reinforces itself. And you can see this pretty well on the temperature anomalies here, temperatures compared to average. The cooler colors, guys, I mean the blues, the greens, and then you got this purple shaded color right here. This is below average temperature. So if you look at the Euro ensemble, this cooler air that you're seeing like right into here, this is from the trough in place now. So kind of the pattern in place now, if you will, okay? So we're going to continue to just deal with below average temperatures. You're seeing some areas that are well below average, like this green is 9 to 15 degrees below your average temperature for this time of the year. Wherever you are, you got to know where your average temperature is. So, you know, for example, Atlanta, Georgia, mid-upper 80s for this time of the year, upper 80s probably. So if you got temperatures that are 10 degrees below average, you could get temperatures in the upper 70s. But that could be driven off clouds and just rain. And I think that will be the case. This is getting into Saturday. So just keep in mind, these little blobs of well below average temperatures, it could be driven off just a rainy day. But you keep going here, and you're still hanging on to these below average temperatures for the eastern U.S. as we're getting into Sunday evening. We're getting into Labor Day. Now you see a warming up here in Canada, but I want you to watch this area, how it turns to blue. Then bang, big dump of cold air into the lower 48. So this is about a week from today. Now this is true cool air from an Arctic source. So this is, 10, 15 degrees below average getting into the northern plains, the upper Midwest. This is probably going to bring some of our first widespread frost, maybe even freezes for areas further north. But I mean, this eventually will drop all the way down into the southern states. So by the time we're in, I don't know, late next late next work week, well below average temperatures dropping down to Kansas, Oklahoma, areas of Texas, and this cool air could eventually get all the way to the southeast. And I mean, this is about 10 days from now. We're still dealing with below average temperatures. And finally, at the very end of the run, it looks like we start to warm back up. So it's just cooler than average temperatures as far as the eye can see, guys. And how cool will it be? Well, I mean, honestly, stick to your local source. That's going to be the best way to, your local news network. That's going to be the best way to see what your 10-day forecast is. But what you'll notice is, if you live in the eastern U.S., especially in the shorter term, it's below average. Like, for example, at my location, it's about 60 degrees right now. It's about to drop into the upper 50s. And, I mean, that's like that's like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 degrees below average for a low temperature. So, we got upper 50s scattered across the south right now. It's nice. And listen, the pattern just looks to reinforce itself, but this next reinforcing shot of cool air looks to really like the central U.S., but we'll see. This could ooze into the eastern U.S. So pretty wild stuff, guys. I mean, just a true connection to the polar region. Next thing we'll talk about is a coastal low that could get going because of this trough that just anchors itself across the eastern U.S. This could bring a lot of unsettled weather for the south. All those blue colors you saw on your screen, I mean, this translates to a lot of unsettled shower and storm action. And what happens here on the Euro is eventually a low pressure gets going. Now, a lot of people have made a lot of good points. This isn't really truly tropical in nature, sort of a hybrid low, almost like a nor'easter. And this low pressure develops. And I will tell you, the last few runs, it's not as impressive with this low pressure, but it could get aggressive again. But, as we're getting into around this time next week, we could be talking about some sort of nor'easter type system. We want to watch the Northeast. We want to watch the East Coast. But I don't really think this is truly tropical in nature. I really don't. So we'll watch this for Atlantic Canada too, but you can just see kind of a low that pops up here and just kind of grinds up the eastern seaboard. Okay. We'll get a little bit more detailed about that when we know more, but what about the latest GFS? Does it show something like that? It does. It develops a low pressure, but it really just whiffs the entire Northeast. But it does get it up into Nova Scotia and Newfoundland too, and we'll get a little bit more detailed about that when we need to. But I will show you what the Euro is showing as far as wind gust, just to show you if we do get any sort of decent in strength low pressure, what kind of winds it could bring. And here it comes as we're getting into around this time next week. Bring some strong gusty winds on Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Long Island, some 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. This is not a forecast by any means, guys, but it really shows you that something is off the northeast coastline mid to late week next week. So we'll continue to watch this. Now, as far as the tropics, are we seeing anything out there? I really think we're entering a bit of a lull for the next 10 days, honestly. But there are some signs that things could begin to wake up, kind of like I discussed in yesterday morning's video. There's Tropical Storm Fernand. The next name is Gabrielle. You can see our frontal boundary sweeping across the country. It's right into here. And you can see a lot of unsettled weather to the east of it, but you see hardly nothing in this area. That is because we got cool, dry air. Just kind of want to show you a representation of that. The Caribbean is quiet. The Gulf's quiet. Southwest Atlantic, pretty good. A little disturbance right here, not marked or anything. We got a wave right here, and we got a big old Chungus wave coming off Africa. But most model guys really doesn't like this developing. So that's all the pieces out there in the Atlantic right now. Nothing too crazy. As far as the latest from the National Hurricane Center, Fernand is a 45 mile per hour tropical storm. Probably will begin to lose a lot of its tropical characteristics over the next day or two as it gets into cooler waters. But any other areas of interest? Absolutely not. Now I want to start this off by speaking on the latest from the Climate Prediction Center as far as the global outlook. And they issued a new one yesterday. So we got new information. So week 2, September 3rd through the 9th. So this is getting several days out ahead of us. Climate Prediction Center says, hey, there's a 20% chance of tropical development in this red and white striped area. Basically the MDR, main development region. I could see that with some tropical waves showing up in the longer range. But then as we get through the 10th through the 16th, listen, I really think we need to get several days into September before hurricane season wakes back up. I think it's inevitably will. I got a feeling that it's going to get very active again. But I do want to mention it's got the Southern Gulf, the Western Caribbean as an area to watch. 20% chance of tropical development. But it not only has that 20% chance out here in the main development region, but it also has in this red area, solid red, that's a 40% chance of tropical development. So right now we're entering an MJO phase that basically supports a lot of sinking air, a lot of dry air. But eventually a more favorable phase is going to work in from the Pacific into the Gulf, Caribbean, Southwest Atlantic, and then sweep across the entire Atlantic as we get deeper into September, and this is going to bring an uptick in tropical activity, no doubt about it. Just in time for peak hurricane season too. So let's enjoy this break, but we'll continue to give you updates on the tropics. Anything closer to home in the shorter term, we'll start off September 1st besides that little hybrid low off the coast of the southeast, I'm not really seeing anything. The long range Euro, nothing at all. Nothing really to even show you. What about the GFS? Is it showing anything? There's that low pressure off the coast of the eastern U.S. Anything else? GFS likes to do some wild stuff down here sometimes, but I'm not seeing anything. Now, you do see a low pressure developing at the end of the run, kind of getting into the first full weekend, kind of the first Sunday of September, the 7th. It shows some sort of lower pressure, which would match up well with what the Climate Prediction Center is saying. And there is a wave looking like it's about to try to get into the Caribbean here, but not seeing anything. This is past 10 days, so kind of an unreliable time frame. Now, is the Euro still showing some crazy tropical waves? Well, I mean, not really. I mean, as we get about a week from today, it does try to get a wave going right here. Very small, looks like dried out tropical wave. It doesn't really survive. And then here comes another one shooting off Africa, another one behind it. But I would say, you know, the very end of the run, you're starting to get a lot of tropical wave activity, but nothing overly concerning, I would say, at all. You look at the GFS, we get a week out, nothing. And really, we go all the way to the length of the run. Just looks like there's something trying to get going here. If we look at the 850 millibar vort here, I don't even really show much. So if we look at the Euro ensemble, this goes 10 days out. It does show a very small signal, and it's the signal has actually dropped off a little bit. It does show a small signal for a tropical wave trying to get going. You got about, I don't know, we'll call that 10 members out of about 51. So about 20% or so of the members developing something, but it's just, there's just nothing to really worry about. So I will speak on today's weather. We do have some rain out and about out here. We got rain shooting across into the panhandle of Oklahoma and northern Texas. A lot of shower activity across the Rockies. We do have another kind of reinforcing trough digging down into the upper Midwest. This is bringing some showers. It's going to be kind of a showery day across the UP and Michigan. A little bit of action in Iowa. A little bit of shower activity here in the deep south. But outside of that, there's no crazy weather ongoing. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Let's update this because we got a little glitch at the bottom of the screen. There we go. Flood watches in the green. Oh, it's back again. Cool. Flood watches down here in the green. Well, up here in the green. We got red flag warnings in the pink, but we got some, you know, heat advisories for southern areas of Florida. But I mean, nothing too crazy ongoing. As far as the risk of severe weather, the Storm Prediction Center basically is saying just there ain't much of one today. Just there's a lot of dry air dominating much of the country. So when there's a lot of dry air, you know, these severe storms, they need moist air, and you're just not getting a lot of it across the entire lower 48 with this cold front that's swept through. So if you live in the green area, just a general risk of thunderstorms. Now, risk of flash flooding. We are watching Idaho and surrounding states, areas out west. And then we're watching this area that almost looks like a fish going from Cheyenne, just outside of Denver, sweeping down into Kansas, all the way into Arkansas, southwest Missouri, into northern Oklahoma. 15% risk of excessive rainfall in this area. Breaking it down section by section, the southeast, dry air, cool high pressure, a little bit of storm activity maybe along the Georgia, northeast Florida coastline. So we'll watch for that, some thunderstorms, and we'll wake up tomorrow morning to some rain shooting across Arkansas, but pretty calm weather across the southeast. The northeast, also, you know, pretty relaxed. We're going to just have a little bit of shower activity kind of embedded in the trough this afternoon, sweeping across interior areas of New England. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some small hail with this because of the cooler air aloft, and then another reinforcing trough is about to dig in, and you can see it across areas of southeast Canada. A lot of rain shower activity moving across southern Quebec and Ontario and stuff. But the south central U.S., some rain showers will sweep across Kansas, areas of Oklahoma. Little bit of storm action dance along the Texas and Louisiana coastline. A lot of storm activity across Colorado. We start to move into eastern areas of Colorado, eastern areas of New Mexico. Some storms are possible. And then a lot of this energy will eject off the Rockies with a low pressure. And we could just have some unsettled weather across the state of Kansas overnight. You guys have just had pretty much a rinse and repeat kind of pattern across areas of the southern and central plains. So we're going to wake up again, once again, to a lot of heavy rain across tomorrow across areas of Missouri, Arkansas, northern Oklahoma, and Kansas. And this is where you pretty much have that risk of excessive rainfall. But be aware of that. No crazy risk of flooding. Now, the upper Midwest, reinforcing trough brings down more just pesky shower activity. Just a classic kind of early fall feel up here with some showers drifting around. Showers in northern areas of Minnesota also. Just kind of a dreary day. And who knows, you might get a little rumble of thunder from this up here today. Maybe some small hail with just cooler air aloft. But this will dig down, and then we'll wake up tomorrow morning with this more so centered over areas in the Midwest and lower Michigan. But the western U.S. will just continue to get ample amount of shower and storm action. I mean, this is getting into this afternoon, early this evening. Look at all the storm activity across the western states. And then it'll diminish with the loss of daytime heating. Some of it will hang around overnight. Look at this little low pressure down here off the coast of Baja California. But the eastern U.S., as far as temperatures, it's cool. It's nice. Looks great. Enjoy your nice, calm, cooler, dry weather behind this cold front that we're getting. And this is out west. This little pocket of, well, it's a large pocket of cool air across the Rockies. It's just due to elevation and just rain and cloud cover. But around it, if you're not getting storms, it's heating up. Look at Montana. So, that's all I got, guys. Man, 59.9. I'm looking at my weather station right here. This is our first sub 60 degree morning and since June, I think. So, what an accomplishment. But, hey guys, I just, I don't have a devotion this morning. And I apologize. I know some people are like, man, don't apologize. It's cool. But, it's been 2 days in a row now. I am just been very tired, and I've been struggling to even get up and get to the gym and do my normal morning routine. Therefore, if I don't get up and go to the gym, I normally miss my quiet time, which is very important to me. So it's about my second morning in the row where I haven't got up. I've just kind of woke up, drank a Gatorade, drank some water, and then got in the shower and went right into this video. So just haven't had time to get to the devotion. And we'll get right back to it tomorrow because I got to get my butt back to the gym and get back on my routine. But just, I guess for me, it's always trying to find the balance of when it gets crazy on this channel, it gets crazy, right? There's not a whole lot of time to rest, making 2 videos a day. It's rough. And, when it's kind of slow, like we're kind of in a lull right now, I kind of try to take advantage of it, get enough rest, things like that. But also want to mention, I've had a lot of growth with the channel over the last month. And I think sometimes, and listen, this isn't me saying, kind of giving myself a pat on the back or anything like that. But, I think sometimes I don't realize how much growth that we've gotten on here and on social media and stuff. And the reason I say this is because it's funny, I actually posted a graphic yesterday. I'm a big Gamecock fan, big college football fan, and the Gamecock tradition is a sandstorm. And for my people that know SEC football or even know a lot about football, kind of know that. And especially my local people here in the Carolinas, sandstorm, just look up sandstorm Gamecock football. And every year for about the last 4 or 5 years, I posted a similar graphic, and it's about a week before game day. And I'll say, and I'm going to pull it up right here, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger on the screen. And I'll do something like this. Hopefully y'all can see this well. And I said, a sandstorm watch has been issued for the below counties. I highlighted Atlanta because South Carolina's playing Virginia Tech, which is funny because Virginia Tech, their tradition is Enter Sandman. So sandstorm, Enter Sandman, which by the way, I love Virginia Tech's tradition. I know this is going to be kind of blurry on your screen, but I do this every single year, a week before college football starts. And I've gotten a lot of growth over the last year, 2 years. And I've had many years where people actually believe there's a sandstorm coming. And, but 99% of the comments are laughing. It's funny. It's good. It's just a football kind of mixed with weather joke. But holy smokes, guys. Yesterday was a real reality check for me that I just can't do stuff like this anymore, and it stinks. But you had 80% of the people that, and you can read it, a significant pattern change looks to be moving in this weekend. Drier, you can see it down there. It's a joke, right? Because sandstorm, Gamecock football, blah blah blah. And the reason I have it going up down the interstate corridor to Atlanta is because Virginia Tech and South Carolina's playing in Atlanta. And it was a little shot at Clemson. I put in their county up here, and I was just joking. I don't ever talk junk to my Clemson fans. I love you guys so much, and I appreciate y'all. But just a little fun, right? So I posted this yesterday about midday, and like I said, 80% of them, people laughed, were hooping and hollering, having a good time with it. Go Gamecocks. Heck, even the opposing fan bases were laughing. But then you had 10% of them that really got upset, thinking that I was speaking on behalf of the National Weather Service and creating false alarm, and just people that just, I guess, take life a little bit too serious. And then you had the other 10% that actually believed that a sandstorm was coming. And I don't know. I don't want to make fun of nobody, because I think I probably have people tuning in that follow me on social media that probably thought a sandstorm was coming. And I'm not making fun of anybody, but we don't get sandstorms in the Southeast, guys. Except at Williams-Brice Stadium, right? But I actually had to delete the post, and I was really bummed out I had to. It was going viral on Twitter. It was going viral on Facebook. And it just was a reality to check to me that, like, okay, Mitch, it looks like that you gotta turn the serious level up a little bit more now. People take things a little bit too serious, and believe it or not, my wife's, and not a shot at you, Mama, it's not a shot, but trust me, because she might be tuning in, Paw Mama down Southern Alabama. But my grandma's, my wife's grandma actually called her yesterday and said, y'all, I think something, I forgot exactly what was said because I wasn't on the phone call, but basically said, y'all be careful. I heard that y'all have a sandstorm coming to Columbia. She was concerned. We don't have any sandstorms in the South, guys. We get haboobs out in the Southwest, and we get pretty much a sandstorm there. But I don't know. It was a newsflash to me that I just can't do stuff like this anymore, and it stinks. It really does, but, it is what it is. But there is no sandstorm watch that is up for the counties on your screen, guys. So God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. Just wanted to share that funny story with you guys. And y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll do it again tomorrow morning. God bless.